Hey everyone, Britta Albert here. If this is your first time here, I'm a spiritual transformational life coach. My goal for this channel is to help you overcome the obstacles that are standing in the way of you living your best and most authentic life. This is video 4 in the series that I'm doing called Conversations with God, based upon the book series by Neale Donald Walsch. If you have not seen videos 1 through 3, I'll put them in the playlist above. I do recommend watching those videos before proceeding so that way you understand where we're at in the series. However, it's not necessary to understand the premise of this video.
Every human thought and every human action is based in either love or fear. There's no other human motivation, and all other ideas are but derivatives of these two. They are simply different versions, different twists on the same theme. Think on this deeply, and you will see that it is true. This is what I have called the sponsoring thought. It is either a thought of love or fear. This is the thought behind the thought behind the thought. It is the first thought. It is prime force. It is the raw energy that drives the engine of human experience. And here is how human behavior produces repeat experience after repeat experience. It is why humans love, then destroy, then love again. Always there's the swing from one emotion to the other. Love sponsors fear, sponsors love, sponsors fear. And the reason is found in the first lie. The lie which you hold is the truth about God, that God cannot be trusted, that God's love cannot be depended upon, that God's acceptance of you is conditional, that the ultimate outcome is thus in doubt. For if you cannot depend on God's love to always be there, on whose love can you depend? If God retreats and withdraws when you do not perform properly, will not mere mortals also? And so it is that in the moment you pledge your highest love, you greet your greatest fear. The first thing you worry about after saying I love you is whether you'll hear it back. And if you hear it back, then you begin immediately to worry that the love you have just found you will lose. And so all action becomes a reaction, defense against loss, even as you seek to defend yourself against the loss of God. Yet if you knew who you are, that you are the most magnificent, the most remarkable, the most splendid being God has ever created, you would never fear. For who could reject such wondrous magnificence? Not even God could find fault in such a being. But you do not know who you are, and you think you are a great deal less. Where did you get the idea of how much less than magnificent you are? And the only people whose word you would take on everything, from your mother and your father, these are the people who love you the most. Why would they lie to you? Yet have they not told you that you are too much of this and not enough of that? Have they not reminded you that you are to be seen and not heard? Have they not scolded you in some of the moments of your greatest exuberance? And did they not encourage you to set aside some of your wildest imagining? These are the messages you've received, and though they do not meet the criteria and are thus not messages from God, they might as well have been. Though they have come from the gods of your universe, surely enough. It was your parents who taught you that love is conditional. You have felt their conditions many times, and that is the experience you take into your own love relationships. It is also the experience you bring to me. From this experience you draw your conclusions about me. Within this framework you speak your truth. God is a loving God, you say, but if you break his commandments, he will punish you with the eternal banishment and everlasting damnation. For have you not experienced the banishment of your own parents? Do you not know the pain of their damnation? How, then, could you imagine it to be any different with me? You have forgotten what it was like to be loved without condition. You do not remember
the experience of the love of God And so you try to imagine what God's love must be like, based on what you see of love in the world. You have projected the role of parent onto God, and have thus come up with a God who judges and rewards or punishes based on how good he feels about what you've been up to. But this is a simplistic view of God, based on your mythology. It has nothing to do with who I am. Having thus created an entire thought system about God based on human experience rather than spiritual truths, you then create an entire reality around love. It is a fear-based reality, rooted in the idea of a fearful, vengeful God. Its sponsoring thought is wrong, but to deny that thought would be to disrupt your whole theology. And though the new theology, which would replace it, would truly be your salvation, you cannot accept it, because the idea of a God who is not to be feared, who will not judge, and who has no cause to punish, is simply too magnificent to be embraced within your grandest notion of who and what God is. This fear-based love reality dominates your experience of love. Indeed, actually creates it. For not only do you see yourself receiving love which is conditional, you also watch yourself giving it in the same way. And even while you withhold and retreat and set your conditions, a part of you knows this is not what love really is. Still, you seem powerless to change the way you dispense it. You've learned the hard way, you tell yourself, and you'll be damned if you're going to leave yourself vulnerable again. Yet the truth is, you'll be damned if you don't. By your own mistaken thoughts about love, do you damn yourself never to experience it purely. So too, do you damn yourself never to know me as I really am. Until you do. For you shall not be able to deny me forever. And the moment will come for our reconciliation. Every action taken by human beings is based in love or fear. Not simply those dealing with relationships. Decisions affecting business, industry, politics, religion, the education of your young, the social agenda of your nations, the economic goals of your society, choices involving war, peace, attack, defense, aggression, submission, determinations to covet or give away, to save or to share, to unite or to divide. Every single free choice you ever undertake arises out of one of the only two possible thoughts there are, a thought of love or a thought of fear. Fear is the energy which contracts, closes down, draws in, runs, hides, hoards, harms. Love is the energy which expands, opens up, sends out, stays, reveals, shares, heals. Fear wraps our bodies in clothing. Love allows us to stand naked. Fear clings to and clutches all that we have. Love gives all that we have away. Fear holds close. Love holds dear. Fear grasps. Love lets go. Fear rankles. Love soothes. Fear attacks. Love amends. Every human thought, word, or deed is based in one emotion or the other. You have no choice about this, because there is nothing else from which to choose. But you have free choice about which of these to select.
Wow, that is a lot to take in. When it comes to God's love for us, it is so hard to wrap our minds around the concept of infinite unconditional love. The only thing that we know is what we've experienced. So how can we judge ourselves or others for not being able to even conceive of the idea that God is capable of that kind of love for us. The only thing that we can understand is what we first initially received from our parents. As God said, their words were not the words of God, but they might as well have been. And it's not to say that all of our parents are bad people. Most of us come from very loving families, loving parents, whether we have one parent, two parents, multitude of parents. Our parents love us, and their intention for us is to raise us the best way that they possibly can. They're taking what they learned from their parents, and their parents are taking what they learned from their parents, and so on and so forth. I am a believer that every single generation is better than the one previous by at least 1%. If your parents are at least 1% better than the way that their parents treated them, then that's progress. Then we can strive to be at least 1% better than the way that our parents treated us. However, there's a time and point where every parent will always fail their kid, and they must do that. If your child, especially if you have multiple children, but if your child wants your attention 24/7, you're not going to be able to give them your attention 24/7. You have to work, or you have to take care of the house, or you have to make dinner, or you have to take care of the other children or the other people within the household. Parents are not meant to fill the voids within their children. Each child, each person is meant to be whole within themselves. This is something that we already have within us. None of us are actually lacking anything, and that's what God is trying to tell us here. If we truly understood the magnificence of who we are, we would never feel lack. We would never feel hurt. We would never feel fear. All of our actions would be based of love. Because again, it comes back to either love or fear. Let's take, for example, the fear of rejection from our family. If you are somebody who was raised in one religion and either left religion altogether or changed and went to a different religion, you understand this fear very, very well. This is what's so hard when people are raised in cult mindsets. No matter how much you understand that a situation is wrong, it's very difficult to leave that because of the pressure of our families. When you have a belief system that is different from that of your family, it feels so terrifying to open up to them about who you are, or this could be coming out of the closet for some people. There's so many different ways. This could just be, in some families, simply choosing what you want to do and not choosing what your parents want you to do for a career. There's so many different ways that we can go against the belief systems of our family. And no matter what way you experience this, the common fear is the rejection of our family, or that we'll lose the love of our family. So why do we have that belief? Where does that come from? Well, it's probably come from things that our family members have said in the past, or the way that we've seen them treat other people, or the way that we've even observed them treating other members within our own family. We hear the things that people say behind everybody's back just as much as everybody else, especially as a small child. And these are building our belief systems as what's going to happen if we are our most authentic self and we go against what our family wants us to do. And it's not a rejection because of hate. It's not a rejection because of lack of respect for our family. It is literally us following who we feel that we are to be our most authentic selves. So say, for example, if you were to choose something different than what your family believes is right, you would be fearful of experiencing their wrath. Well, in certain cases, especially when it comes to religion, for example, or opposing beliefs that conflict with religion, the fear is that your family will say something along the lines of that you're going to go to hell, or that you are a bad person, when in your heart you know that's not true, and you just want to be loved authentically for who you really are. But if you were to take away your fear and just look at your family's response, where's their response coming from? Is their response out of fear or is it love? Well, we would say they're being unkind to me, they're rejecting me, they're angry at me. Clearly, they're responding out of fear. Okay, so they're responding out of fear. Let's take a closer look. Say that your parents really are afraid that you will go to hell for something. They're afraid that you're going to go to hell, but why are they afraid that you're going to go to hell? Are they afraid that you're going to go to hell because they hate you? Are they afraid that you're going to go to hell because they love you? The way that we respond and react to things is not always cookie cutter clear. It would be so wonderful to be able to look at everybody's reaction and say, that's fear-based, that's love-based, that's fear-based, that's love-based. But a lot of times, things that are fear-based, underneath the fear, you will find they're actually love-based. It's the thought behind the thought, as God would call the sponsoring thought. And it takes a little bit more practice to dig deep into why somebody is treating you a certain way. And that is where you shift from being offended and being hurt and being in the victim to having love and grace and compassion for somebody. You don't have to agree with them, but it's worth a second look before judging someone and saying, oh, well, they're responding out of fear. How many parents are constantly fearful for their children because they love them? I hope this message resonated with you guys tonight. Thank you so much for being with me. Again, if this is your first time here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And also hit the bell notification so that you never miss out on a future video. If you think of somebody who needs to hear this message, please share this video with them and help us continue to grow this community. If you need somebody to talk to in this time, I'm going to include a link below. Go ahead and click on that link. It'll pull up my calendar. Let's schedule a time to set up a 30-minute definition session. And we're going to define the goals that you have for your life and create a plan to get you on track to being your most authentic self. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next time.